Before you listen to anything else, let me tell you something very simple, and don't rush past it, because this part matters more than you think. If you're still listening after the first 30 seconds, it's not because I'm entertaining you, it's because something inside you recognized this feeling long before I ever put words to it. You've been here before. Maybe not today, maybe not yesterday, but sometime in your life. You felt that quiet shift inside you when you agreed to something and didn't fully understand why. When you nodded, smiled, said it was fine, and walked away with a strange weight sitting in your chest. Not heavy enough to panic, not loud enough to confront. Just present enough that you couldn't ignore it completely. That moment wasn't random. It wasn't imagination. And it definitely wasn't weakness. That was the first sign that someone, somewhere, had learned how to stand close enough to your mind to move it slightly without you noticing. Not forcefully, not aggressively, gently, carefully, almost kindly. Control rarely looks like control when it's happening. If it did, most people would resist it. It would trigger alarms. It would feel wrong immediately. But real control doesn't announce itself. It blends in. It learns your rhythm. It mirrors your language. It mirrors your language. It waits until you feel safe, and only then does it begin to reshape the space around you. Picture a normal conversation. Nothing intense. No raised voices. No arguments. Someone you trust is speaking, and you're relaxed because there's no reason not to be. They listen well. They don't interrupt. They let you talk. That alone makes you feel understood. And when they finally respond, they don't disagree outright. They don't correct you. They simply respond in a way that makes you pause, just long enough to question yourself, just long enough to wonder if you missed something. And because you respect them, because you value their presence, you don't dismiss that pause. You take it seriously. That's how it begins. One pause. One reconsideration. One small adjustment. You still believe you're in control, and technically, you are. No one has taken anything from you yet. You're still choosing. You're still choosing. But now, your choices are being filtered. Not through rules. Not through orders. Through reactions. Through silence. Through tone. Through the subtle fear of disrupting something that feels important. People don't realize how powerful that is. I once knew someone who trusted his instincts more than anyone I've ever met. Decisive, confident, comfortable being disliked, if it meant staying honest with himself. Then, slowly, that confidence softened. Not overnight. Not dramatically. It faded the way light fades at the end of the day, so gradually that you don't notice when it's gone. There was someone close to him who never challenged him directly. Never criticized his choices openly, never demanded anything. They simply had a way of responding that made him second-guess himself. A look that lingered half a second too long. A sentence that sounded supportive but carried doubt inside it. Over time, he stopped acting first and reflecting later. He started reflecting first and acting later. And eventually, he started asking questions he never used to ask. Not about the situation, but about himself. Am I being unreasonable? Am I missing something? Am I wrong for wanting this? That's when you know control has taken root, because the questions have turned inward. What makes this so dangerous is how normal it feels. Nothing feels stolen. Nothing feels forced. Nothing feels forced. From the outside, everything looks healthy, calm, / mature, even respectful. And that's why people stay inside it for years, sometimes decades, because nothing ever feels bad enough to leave. It just feels small enough to tolerate. This pattern doesn't start in adulthood. It starts much earlier, long before we have language for it. As children, we learn which version of ourselves keeps people close and which version creates distance. We don't analyze it, we feel it. We adapt to it. We learn when to speak and when to stay quiet, when to express and when to hold back. Nobody calls it control. We call it growing up. We call it learning manners. We call it becoming mature, but the body remembers. So when you're older, and someone reacts with disappointment instead of anger, with silence instead of confrontation, with withdrawal instead of rejection, your system already knows how to respond. You adjust automatically. You don't argue. You don't push. You shrink just enough to restore balance. And you tell yourself you're being understanding. You tell yourself you're choosing peace. What you don't notice is how often peace is just fear wearing a softer face. People who understand this don't dominate conversations. They don't overpower you. They don't threaten. They wait. They let you speak. They let you explain. They let you compromise. They let you slowly become the person who maintains the relationship at your own expense. And the most unsettling part is that they don't always do this intentionally. Many of them learnt it the same way you learned to accept it. This is how systems repeat themselves, quietly, efficiently, without anyone feeling like the villain. That's why it's so hard to talk about this, without making people uncomfortable. Because once you start seeing it, you can't unsee it. You notice it in friendships where one person always adjusts. In relationships where one person always explains. In workplaces where silence is rewarded more than honesty. In families where love feels conditional, but no one ever says it out loud, and you start asking questions that don't have easy answers. When did I start checking how something would be received, instead of whether it was true? When did I start feeling guilty for wanting something different? When did I stop trusting that discomfort might be trying to tell me something important? These questions don't arrive all at once. They appear slowly, usually late at night, when distractions are gone and you're alone with your thoughts. And most people push them away, because answering them means admitting that some of the choices you thought were yours weren't entirely. That realization is heavy. It changes how you see people. It changes how you see yourself. And most of all, it changes how you listen. You start paying attention not just to what is said, but to what happens to you while it's being said. You notice your body tightening, your words softening, your instincts hesitating, and that awareness is dangerous. Not to you, but to anything that relies on you staying unaware, because control only works when it stays invisible. And the moment you start noticing when you're being gently guided away from yourself, something shifts back into place. You may not confront anyone. You may not change everything overnight, but you stop drifting unconsciously. You start choosing deliberately, and even that small shift is enough to make the system uncomfortable. Not because you became aggressive, not because you fought back, but because you remembered how it feels to stand fully inside your own decisions, and that, more than anything, is what quiet control is afraid of.